Okay, welcome to Chapter 2, Introducing Windows Server 2022, page 26. So learning objectives is basically an overview of Windows and then what's new. In case you ever have been running an older version, you might want to be able to compare. So they talk about an overview of Windows Server. So it was released in August of 21, not too long ago, based on Windows 10 21H2. So it's not the latest because Windows 10 now is at 22H2 and it's not going any further, right? Windows 10 is end of life. And then it's based upon what's called a long-term servicing channel. You may have seen that, LTSC. So typically servers are not designed to get a lot of updates. And there's several different types of updates. Security updates, of course, it gets those. But the ones that are called feature updates, the feature ones are like the ones that add a new feature or go from 21H2 to 22H2. That's a feature upgrade. Servers typically do not do feature upgrades at all. So what you see is what you get. You'll get security fixes, right? But no new features. If somebody comes out and says, hey, wow, have you seen this new feature in Microsoft Edge? And you're going to say, no, not on server. Okay, cool. So one more time, what does it not have? Well, it doesn't have Microsoft Store. So it doesn't have Cortana or any of what's called the Universal Windows Programs apps. In other words, no games you can get, right? Things like that. You can't go to the store and pull down stuff. So again, why? Why do you not have Windows Store stuff in Windows Server? Well, first of all, they don't expect you to be logged on. This is not a machine that you log on to on a daily basis. It's a server. It's designed to be sitting all by itself, all alone, okay? Now, that's not the only reason. The other reason is maybe these external apps that you install might have bugs. You know, Microsoft has fantastic control of all the stuff that they produce, but very little control over what you download and install. So to maintain the security of the server, they really don't want you to download anything and install. And if you did, you're kind of sort of up to you. So does that sound like a good question to you guys? Okay, just checking. It does have some cool new features. Woohoo! It's got some really good cloud support. You can, add and change things. In the old days, this sounds kind of weird, but a lot of things, if you were to swap out, like the amount of RAM you had in your machine, clearly in a physical on-prem server, you'd shut the server down, crack open the case, plug more cards in, plug it back up. And in the cloud world, you just say, I'd like some more memory now. And he goes, okay. Like, what? I didn't even have to reboot? What the hell? I mean, this is good stuff. Okay. A very good admin center. It's a separate. It came out in 2019, but still, it's a good thing. We're going to download it. And this thing called System Insights, I kind of like that. That again has been around a while. System Insights has got some. They look at your machine and go, well, you probably need this. You probably need that. It's System Insights. I kind of like it. Okay, one of the features that a lot of professionals like is the new antivirus thing. The Advanced Data Protection, ADP, has since been renamed to Microsoft Defender for Endpoints, but it's the same product. And it's pretty good. I mean, a lot of people don't need a third-party piece of software to be able to manage this stuff. It does proactive stuff to prevent. It also does remediation if you've got infected. It's a pretty good deal. Okay, so we talked about the server additions from last time. So here it is, a little bit more detail. So data center, this is the big one. Azure Edition for new, capable of anything you want to do. And then data center is the complete edition for enterprises that have their own data centers. A lot of companies have their own equivalent of cloud services that they operate themselves. They don't go to third party. Okay, that's kind of what it's for. Standard is full features, yeah. Essentials, this is kind of cool because it's designed for businesses that have like 25 users and maybe 50 devices, and you don't have to pay for any client access licenses. So when you get standard, you're supposed to, I think it comes with, I don't remember how many, 5, 10, who cares? Client access licenses, and if you have 100 computers, you're going to be buying the standard plus 100 CALs. Essentials is cool because it's designed for small business sitting in the corner someplace on-prem, and you don't have to pay for anything. It contains everything you ever needed to know. And then, of course, the Hyper-V one is designed. It's a free product that basically just allows you to host virtual machines. In other words, I don't need a complete server with all the features. I can get a cut-down version of server that all it can do, I mean, it can't do web, can't do email, can't do anything else. All it knows how to do is host hypervised, Hyper-V, virtualized PCs. That's all it does, okay? So you don't pay for the cardboard box, right? That's basically what this is. But you do pay for, I want a Windows Server 22 and a Windows 10 and I want a SQL Server over here. Well, you pay for those, but the cardboard box is free, right? They're not losing any money, trust me. Anyway, and you have to purchase your own client access license in most cases except for Essentials. Okay, so we're going to continue. Talk about the difference between 22 and 19, not much. Hybrid cloud storage migration, that's cool. Being able to say, look, I'm running a disk space over here. I'm going to move half of this directory to the cloud. Ooh, so you never could do that before. It was all or nothing. You wanted to you want to move it to the cloud? Fine, go right ahead. You want half? And they go, code integrity, task protection, just the new stuff that Windows 11 got, right? Now we're talking about the difference between Windows 10 21H2 and Windows 11. Hyper-V management is greatly improved. Flexibility with dynamic routing and things of that nature. The Windows Admin Center, which we're going to use. And then it can do Linux containers and Kubernetes, so very easily. You can host a Linux-style container. So if you have Docker and you have a Docker image of, I don't know, some specialized thing that you're doing, Docker would be a good one for, like, you have a payroll system that you bought, and rather than install it on your machine, you just get it in a container and just pop it in, and then you just run it off the container. And no one knows that it's not really running natively. It's running inside a container. No one cares. Okay, on page 29, they talk about the minimum and recommended system requirements. Yeah, you're going to need at least a 1.4 gigahertz, 64-bit PC. Yeah, the CPU, yeah. Okay. It actually says 512 gig for services. That's ridiculous. Because, first of all, you haven't figured out what you're using it for. I mean, if you're using it for SQL Server, you're going to need 10, 20, 12, some number. File services, you're probably going to need 8, for web, email, But in our case, it says in parentheses, oh, by the way, if you're going to use the desktop experience, which we are, you're going to need a minimum of 2 gig. Okay. And then a 32 gig disk, again, this is pipe dream. If you're going to run anything serious, you're going to need a lot more than that. So when we install our machine, and we're not going to put that much stuff on it, I'm going to pick 64 for the size of the disk. Okay. And then a monitor is capable of running 1024 by 768. Now that is not exactly true, because some of the tools that we use require a wider screen. And so yes, for bare bones basic stuff, they're correct. 1024 by 768. In reality, no. And you certainly do not need a gaming graphics card, for God's sake. We're talking about popping up windows and text boxes and stuff. That's it. So they're recommending, of course, 2 gigahertz 64, 32 gig of RAM, and 256 disks. That's their recommended. So what's new in Windows Server 22? Okay. Well, Edge browser, yeah. Hybrid Center, decide what's on-prem and what's not. You get to divvy it up. Migrate from storage migration, moving from one server to another to the cloud. Storage replicate volumes between services, either synchronous or asynchronously. Hey, if I ask you what's the difference between synchronous and asynchronous replication, you be able to tell me? I'm not telling you what it is. You have to read a book, but okay. And then secured server, because Windows 11 requires the TPM tip, trusted process. Oh dear God, I can't remember what TPM stands for. What the P is. Trusted platform module. Okay, excuse me. So it's going to require that too. And then Kubernetes, yes, and containers. Docker is a good example of containers. You know, very lightweight. You can borrow these guys. And then the Windows Admin Center. So it could end up replacing the server manager and the computer management thing. That was their intent. So I'm just going to pop on over, and I'm not going to download it right now, but I'm just going to type in Windows Admin Center. You know, they're trying desperately to get away from like the control panel and all these little things that pop up over here when you do a right click. These guys, they're trying to cut down on these guys and stuff that goes into. So this is what it's designed to do. I mean, resource management and file and installation setup, performance, getting started. I mean, it's got a lot of good stuff, including that insight thing that I really kind of sort of like. Okay, so this was a very short chapter, and that's about it. And I'll see you guys again in the next video.